And we're here. All right, guys, welcome to the first interview of the Messenger Marketing Mastery Summit. And I am here with Pat Friedel. It's an exciting time, and I'm excited.
First interview of the Messenger Marketing.
I blew it. I'm already blowing it, guys. This is an exciting time because I was speaking with Pat on the call before this, and we are going to show you a revolutionary technology that's going to make your chatbot, and it's going to really upgrade it and going to take it from just some basic messaging, conversations to really, a turbocharged sales conversation. But even more importantly, what Pat's been working on is he has actually a plugin that will allow you to easily set this stuff up and allow you to integrate it without having to do any like crazy coding. So we're going to give that away to one person. So if you guys want access to Pat's plugin, which is going to allow you to connect Dialog Flo to Chatbot, which is what we're going to talk about today, drop an emoji, and we're going to pick one emojier to give the software to, and everybody else will be able to find out how that software is helping victims who are or victims of sex trafficking around the world. And Pat's been doing some awesome stuff with that. So with all that being said, welcome, Pat.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Active. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, dude.
How's it going? That being said,
can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right, let's go. Let's do this, guys. So, Pat, can you catch us up a little bit on what you've been doing behind the scenes in terms of chatbots? You're actually someone who I posted on our wall or on our group, and they were like, I don't know who anybody else is, but I really follow Al. So, can you give us an introduction about who the other people are? But they actually, your reputation kind of preceded you. So you're someone who has been building some really intense bots for the real estate industry. You've been helping lots of people. You're actually awarded Member of the Month in the Chatfield community.
I got my hoodie.
You got your Chatfield hoodie, so you're someone who's out there just bringing value. But can you catch us up on what it is that you do and maybe why it is that, or how you landed here in this kind of whole chatbot space?
Well, yeah, so I've been kind of a developer for, 18 years. So that kind of dates me, but 18, 19 years. So, but I've been doing all kinds of software and websites and code and stuff like that. Work for a bunch of different companies doing a lot of web and things. But over the last, I don't know, like 5-6 years, I've been jumping into Facebook marketing. And, never really kind of scored with any kind of product or anything like that, doing my own thing, made a little money here and there. But this chatbot thing came out, it's only been like, about a year, maybe a year and a half now, that it just really started getting hot. And, I loved it because this automated deal, it was more not marketing, not really code, but it was kind of a merge of the two and conversational marketing and all that. And nobody else is doing it. And still it's still pretty wide open. People are still just now, it's just now starting to pop up on LinkedIn. Like I've got some chatbot stuff in my profile on LinkedIn, and now there are companies out there actually popping up, showing up in my LinkedIn's saying that, they search for chatbots and I showed up in their search. So people or companies are out there starting to look for this now. And so, it's a good time to be in it. And I just kind of fell in love with the chatbots. I started with ManyChat and Bot Academy and started going into that, and found out that really quickly, like having a bot that just delivers a lead magnet was cool, but now it's not enough. You actually have a whole lot more in-depth stuff that people want to do with bots. More customer service. They want to be able to generate these leads. And, so I kind of migrated over to Chatfuel, and it's just a platform that has a massive amount of horsepower as far as what it can do, especially with hooking up, conversational flows in, actually understanding people. So if you merge Chatfuel with Dialog Flo, you can make yourself one hell of a beast of a bot. And, for yourself and then for your clients, you can charge a whole lot more if you can do a lot more work on a bot.
Yeah. So let's skip to the end here, and because we have some people who are here, and you've actually created a way for not only Chatfuel, and I've deemed them many crash and a lot of these other, platforms, they are great at having, sales messages, but they're very limited in their ability to interpret what the user actually sends back. But Dialogflo, which is something that you kind of integrated into your bots, is something that allows it to basically, what would you say that Dialogflo really allows the chatbot to now do?
Well, what it does, it allows people to, or allows the bot to actually process language or process user input the way people type. So if I have a bot that just, where you have to click a button, a lot of, you can ask people to hit the quick reply or hit the button, and, they may or they may not, if you like click this button, you want the user to do something and they don't, it's always, you try to make it idiot proof and they're going to make a better idiot, So what happens is that, you have a button say like, click here to get today's weather. And then somebody, instead of clicking the button, they'll just type in, what's the weather for tomorrow? And if your bot doesn't know how to handle that input, then it goes to the default reply, which just says, I didn't understand that. Could you say it again? And then they type it in, what the F is the weather? And they're like, I didn't understand you. And it goes in a loop and the loop, and so you end up with a bad user experience, and then your bot's not very smart and it can't do what it needs to do. And what Dialogflo does is, it's harnessing the power of natural language processing and Google, big fat Google. And so if somebody types in, what's the weather for tomorrow? You could send it to your bot, or send it through your bot to Dialogflo, and then Dialogflo, if you've got it trained properly, can return, basically what's called an intent and a context. And so it can say, you want to know what the weather is tomorrow. And so then you can send it back to Dialogflo or back to your Chatfuel bot and process that with, JSON plugins or other blocks and things like that. And it can actually pull up the weather for tomorrow for that, based off that person's location or something. So it allows you to, handle input in, however many ways people, text it. Because somebody could say, what's the weather tomorrow? Or somebody could say, I want to know what it's going to be like tomorrow outside, or something like that. So there's however many infinite ways you can think of to say something. You can train Dialogflo to handle it.
I feel like it kind of gives your bot a real brain, right?
It really does. I mean, it other than having to sit on your inbox and learn, and chat people in real time, this thing can actually handle it. So, in our case, like with our real estate bot, somebody comes into the bot and says, we say, how can we help you? We have buttons for the menu and sell my house now, or click this. And somebody says, I need, I just got transferred and I need to sell my house now. And, the bot, there's no amount of AI, you can set up all these different AI rules in Chatfuel, and you can in ManyChat as well, but you set up an AI rule. There's so many ways to say something like that. So we take that input and then we can send it to Dialogflo, and it says they need to sell their house. And so we can send back a reply and say, or redirect them to a spot in the bot that begins pushing them through like sell your house flow. And then we can get that lead and get that to the agent. So somebody comes in and or they say, I'm being foreclosed on, I have to sell. Then we could say, okay, that could create a different type of intention for that user. And we move them to say like our motivated seller flow in the bot. So, they need to sell now, like get that lead, get the agent to call them right now. So there's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do with Dialogflo, ordering, customer retention, customer support. If somebody emails your bot, like you've got an e-commerce bot, somebody says, I got my product and it's shit, then you might say, okay, that Dialogflo could even parse the cuss words and everything like that and send them over to, somebody like live chat, so you can handle that and actually take care of that person before they leave you a bad review.
So that's so powerful. So guys, and it's right now you can integrate it with Chatfuel, and if you wanted to do it without your plugin, you have to go you were explaining, I didn't even know what you had to do.
Well, there's all kinds of there's all kinds of ways you can actually integrate it. I mean,
it doesn't matter. Let's not talk about those.
Yeah.
With yours though, it makes it really easy to connect these two with Chatfuel and then Dialogflo, which is essentially a separate software. And with yours,
right. Yeah, what you have to do is that you kind of have to bridge it. I mean, you basically like you take the input from ChatFuel, you post it to what I'm calling the Dialogflo client, and then it sends the information. It has to package it the way Dialogflo wants it, and it sends it to Dialogflo, and then Dialogflo can respond, and then it sends it back to the bot. So it's kind of a bridge between ChatFuel and Dialogflo.
Got it. And normally this is Pat asked for a donation. He's giving this software away, but he does ask for a donation. And let's talk about the foundation that they go,
So it's so basically I was thinking about selling it or thinking about giving it away, and I thought, I've seen other people in the ChatFuel group and all that. Deborah Kay is one of the great user there, and she does a lot of stuff.
She's going to be on Friday as well.
Yeah. So she did some donationware as well. I think she actually has like an emoji agent for Dialogflo, so that you can actually send an emoji to ChatFuel, and Dialogflo will answer with another emoji or some other kind of thing that you want to answer with. So she does it with a donation as well. So what I'm doing is I'm looking to get donations for an organization called the Exodus Road, and they basically are worldwide. They kind of focus on Southeast Asia and in the States, but they basically go to like investigate and stop sex trafficking rings for men, women, and children worldwide, and they aid the local authorities and all that in doing all that. They have people that go undercover. They have people that actually troll the deepest, darkest, nastiest parts of the web to uncover these people and things like that. So they always need help. They've rescued hundreds of people. And I know people that actually do this undercover stuff, and it's very hard work to do. I mean, it's like they come back and like, God, I had to do, like see this stuff, and so this actually, helps them.
Hold on, Pat. Yeah. I have to say something, guys. There's almost 30 people on. When I woke up about, and I thought about this interview, I thought we were going to talk about Dialogflo, and I was going to have a conversation with Pat about some stupid, I don't want to say stupid, but about some software, which in all this grand scheme of things, I mean, we think about it is not that important, but what I love about this is now this conversation, this video is now about us, you, the collective, us 30 people who are on right now, going out there and doing something positive for this community. So we're not going to just do it for an emoji. I'm sorry. This is way too powerful of a conversation here. So we're gonna give this away, but we're gonna ask that if you want to be part of this, that you share it and then you comment that you shared it, because this is such a powerful mission, and I think that it's all too real, right? And it's like, I live in LA, and there's sometimes where you go to places and you come away seriously wondering like, that seemed a little fishy. That seemed like a weird interaction. Like that, I don't think people understand how real human trafficking is, and how, and it's like, so I don't know, continue on, but I just wanted to share with the viewership that this all of a sudden is a lot more than just about softwares and chatbots, guys. This video just got a lot more heavy.
Sorry.
No, I think it's important to bring these things and to all of a sudden to pair software with actual real change. And why can't we do that? And why shouldn't we do that? So
yeah.
I think the beautiful thing that you're doing, Pat. But I cut you off in the middle.
No problem. But so that's basically it. So, and really, if we want to give it away to give it away to a few people, and if they want to donate afterwards, they still can donate. So that's it. We're like I said, it's donationware. It's not required. But if they do donate, they can send an email to me, info@braintrustinteractive.com. And then I'll just forward the email on, or forward the software on. So, but basically the software, it's a little PHP file. You don't need to know code. It does come with a big fat, I think like 15-page PDF that I put together, like step by step of how to set it up. And you can set it up on something as simple as like a shared hosting on a GoDaddy account. And the cool thing is you don't need to set it up per bot. You can actually set it up so you can have multiple bots using the same client, just depending on how you want to hook it up. So
let's dive in, and you have a little basic demo here, and so I'll tee up the demo. You pull up your screen.
All right.
So basically, if you guys are in chatbots at all, you guys know that the user is an interesting person, right? And you build a bot, and sometimes it's like the more complex the bot, sometimes it makes it more difficult on the user. So you have to really create a bot for the user. And in basic platforms like ManyCrash and Chatfuel, what you have is you have just buttons and really, really basic keywords and AI inputs that it recognizes. But what this allows it to do is it allows it to recognize, like Pat was saying earlier, how people type, and it allows it to work through that. So you had to basically, there's a lot of times where you ask for an email, but people give you like they don't actually give you just their email, right? They give you the email and all the other bullshit that comes along with it. Yeah, here's my email, and I've got 3 kids and 2 nephews, and 2 of them are the same, and we don't know what's going on. It's
So what the bot platforms, they try to do a good job, and they try to do the stuff like with Chatfuel. They've got this validation box here, so I can ask for an input, and so they say email. Well, all it does very basic, even the most basic email checking. But if I, what I've found in a lot of our bots, and why I'm adding this in, is that if I'm setting up bots for clients and we're driving leads, and I go and I ask for somebody to enter their email address, this validation. Well, what happens in the bot is that if I type in, I say, what is your email? And I type in some kind of garbage like, I'm not really feeling it today, I'd rather not give my email, or something like that. And they're nervous about giving you an email. Then that fails the validation. And then the bot comes back and goes, sorry, that's not a valid email address. What's your email? And it'll keep going and going. You'll never stop, and you're never going to get out of that loop. So you end up with a bad user experience. Somebody leaves the bot. They might report your bot for spam or something like that, and you've lost that lead. So what I'm doing with it now is that I don't use validation on any of my fields for phone or email or anything like that. And so what I do is I usually ask for the email, and we found that a lot of people will put in stuff like that, like, my email's this, but can you please call me at this number instead? So I still want to pull the email out of that big fat sentence that just came in and got set to a user attribute. So the only way to really do that is either send it through to some PHP or a JSON plugin that can do all kinds of crazy, parsing or something, or send it to Dialogflo. And so this example here, like, let's just say I'm asking for an email. I'm going to save it to an email attribute. And the next thing I want to do is I will call up.
Let me jump in here, Pat.
Yeah, sure.
Let me kind of, because I know for me, I'm a dumb marketer. You're a smart developer here. So what happens when you're building bots you're building bots for clients is lots of clients, they want an email, they want a phone number, because they don't always see the value of just having a chatbot subscriber. And as they should need to, they want to diversify their options. So when you ask for their email, a lot of times what happens too is that they'll go, well, can you call me? And it'll go, please enter an email. And they go, well, I don't have an email. And it'll go, please enter an email. And it's just like, they get upset because it keeps saying, you need an email, you need an email, you need an email, you need an email. And that's when you use that. That's because you ask, you use the validation. Right. And so what Pat here is actually saying, you can eliminate that loop by doing what he's talking about. So keep going.
So basically, just for this example here, we've set up a user input. We don't do any validation. And then the next thing that we do is, once we've got that input, we can send it to, this is where I've got my Dialogflo client set up. And so I can send the query string. I just, basically this is all in the PDF, how to set this up. But I send them the user email, and then it's going to basically, just validate this. So let's try this out real quick. I'll show you exactly what, and hopefully it'll work.
Hopefully.
So, yeah, if it doesn't, we can. The nice thing is that you can always train Dialogflo. So I'm going to put in, a keyword Dialogflo, and it's going to come in here and say, okay, what's your email? And then, so we'll do just kind of what you said just a minute ago. I'm going to paste in something like that, like, here's my email, but can you just call me? And hopefully it's going to return back with just my email. And see, there you go. It says, it looks like your email is pfriedel@gmail.com. So it took this giant, big, fat, sentence that has a bunch of junk other than my email in it, and it actually peeled out my email. And so I was able to clean that up and clean that string up. And that's kind of what Dialogflo can help you do. That's what I'm mainly using it for, is pulling out all the junk and pulling out the part that I need. So I can show you what happens on the back end with Dialogflo. And this is a pretty simple interface, but I'll show you what we've got here. We've got I set up, I don't know, how do you want to start this? I'm going to show you kind of like what happens, or
so So right there, what was going right? Like once again, I'm always trying to frame it for my job.
Yeah.
Is helping it to understand what's going on. So what we need to do is we essentially need to connect chat fuel and we need to connect these dialog flow. So for me, I'm a very rookie. I actually haven't used dialog flow at all. So let's how would one set up this this kind of interface?
Okay. Yeah. So Dialog Flows is it. I was scared of it for a long time, but I got to give a shout out to like Carl Dombrowski and Deborah Kay and Michael Lucy. Like they've helped so much. I've reached out to them and like, oh no, here's how you do it. And I mean, it's really it was really weird for me coming from like coding background to like trying to just come up with sentences and figure out how people say things and then trying to teach Dialog Flow how to do this. Is like teaching a little kid how to learn their colors kind of thing. You basically teach it to understand what people are doing. So when you log into Dialog Flo, it's Google, of course, so you can log in with your Gmail account. And this, when you initially start up, you can create what is called an agent. And an agent is made up of multiple things. Mainly for chat fuel, we're going to use intents and context, and that's and entities. So an entity is something like an email or, like a value or, oh gosh, I don't know how to explain it really. It's like if I pass in that string, like what is the weather?
Data, right?
What's that?
Like a piece of data.
Yeah, it's just a piece of data. It's like an object. So, an apple or, an orange, something like that. So an intent is basically figuring out, an intent is kind of exactly what it sounds like. What does the user want? And so I have this, I have an intent created, called parse email. And when somebody enters in some data, and you can see here, I've got training phrases. When somebody enters in something like, my email is this, but can you just call me? You can go through and basically train Dialog Flow. You can highlight this and say, this is an email, and it will ignore everything else in that sentence. So that's kind of how you can train Dialog Flow to peel stuff out and give you the proper data back.
So right in here, you have these intents and you have all these training phrases, and you've got basically any way that someone could send their email, you tried to put it in there.
Right. And you can even add, another good way to train it is also to add stuff where there would be no match. Because we've gotten stuff like this, like not interested, please ignore. Or they put in, don't have one at this time. Somebody put in, I don't understand Spanish myself, so no tango.
I don't have one.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, or somebody put in here their email and then they put in their phone number. Well, I only want the email, so I ignore the phone number. Things like that. So this is stuff where I've used some input that people have given us in the past, and I've loaded all this up. See, there's somebody put in their email address and then LOL after that. Well, that didn't work initially, but now it would if somebody puts in their email and, something like that. Dialog Flow knows how to pull that email out. So really what you do when you start up with Dialog Flow is you create your agent. So your agent is basically kind of like your niche for your bot. Okay. So if I'm actually working for real estate, I create, my lead gen agent on Dialog Flow. And then I can create these intents, like somebody wants to buy a house, somebody wants to sell a house, or I need to pull out email, need to pull out phone, stuff like that. Entities now, entities are where you basically create the objects that you're going to send back to ChatFuel. So if somebody, like I have a portion in the, or an intent inside the bot here, where if somebody's entering in their home valuation, so they want to come in here and we ask for, what's your address, your full address? Well, I've got this thing trained where we've got street address, city, state, and zip. And if you look at this, Dialog Flow knows how to actually pull apart this entire address and give me pieces of it so I can send it back to ChatFuel the way I want to send it back. And so, pretty much if you create these entities like this, this intent is actually made up of entities. So street address, city, state, zip code. And Dialog Flow has a lot of that stuff built in. So I could actually, if I want to train it this is how you would train Dialogflo. When I enter in a big, a big training phrase, I can come in here, highlight one piece that I want, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that Dialogflo already has, like units of currency, timestamps, geolocations, units of length, all kinds of stuff that's already there. It already understands a lot of that stuff that's, it's been building all this data for all these users that are using it. So haven't lost you yet?
No, this is good. So, I mean, I think what's important is for people to do lots of what people are going to need to do is to do lots of planning up front, but then also lots of testing. I think in here you've taken the feedback that you've gotten from your users and you're finding the places where they get stuck, and then you're going and plugging them in here to Dialogflo. And I'd imagine that it's manually doing it, right? It's not.
Well, you can.
Learning.
Well, yeah, you can. What you can do is that you can. When I first started, what I've learned from everybody else that's taught me so far, and I'm nowhere near anywhere an expert, but it's much easier to get good at it, when you start learning how to plan it out. So when you create your agent for your Dialogflo, you want to go out and you want to create your entities and basically figure out all the different ways people are going to say something. Like here, if somebody's searching for property, and they're doing want to search for bedrooms, right? Like you could say one bed, one bedroom with a space in it. Like if you look at these different ways you can say it, then basically what happens is that if somebody types that into my bot, then Dialogflo will see they put in one bedroom and it will actually return this value that I want. So you can say, Dialogflo, here's all the different ways that somebody could say weather or whatever they want, or the bedrooms or bathrooms or property value or location or something. And then it says take all these synonyms and give me this one value. So then when I pass it back to Chatfuel, I actually know how to handle it.
Nice.
So you basically need to plan out your entities and set all those up. There's just so many ways to do it. It's crazy. I'm trying to think of a good way to kind of boil it down, but
well, entities, right? I mean, you really need to think about how is your user going to be responding to you, and also conversely, what are you going to be asking of your user?
Yeah.
I mean, because you're only going to be asking, you should be only asking a limited amount of things. Don't go out and creating this all-encompassing super mind, because it's not going to be very effective. But if it's a real estate, or if it's a chiropractor, you're going to ask a certain amount of given things, and they're only going to respond a certain amount of ways, or you route it to go, I'm not quite sure what you said there, right?
Yeah, so I guess an example, let's say like one of the popular ones would be like, say, a restaurant. So let's say you've got a restaurant bot, and you pop in there and you say, "Hi, Hector, how can I help you today?" And somebody types in, "I want to order a pizza." So that that the intent would be to order something, and then say an entity of like menu item would be pizza, and somebody could say, "Or I want to order some pizza and wings," and so that you've got another entity in there as well. It's like you got pizza and wings. And so you've got, if you have an entity of, say, menu items, then you could set it up so that you have this, whatever your restaurant is offering. Let's say pizza, wings, tacos, and salads. So you would have all those menu items are an entity, and those entity items are the pizza, wings, tacos, and salads. So
okay,
yeah.
This is good. Yari says she's lost, but I think she's back, because she gave some hearts a little later. So guys, here's the thing, okay? Dialogflo is something that you can really utilize to allow your chatbot to understand what your users are saying. And that's essentially, and you right now need to go in and train your bot to understand what are they giving me, right? What are they throwing at me, right? So that the chatbot can understand, oh, that's an email. Oh, that's the state they live in. Oh, that's the food choice that they want. That's the time that they want. And you need to help it to identify all these different things. And then once your user just says some random sentence, it'll be able to grab those particular things out of that sentence and put, we'll probably get to put some sort of cohesive response back together.
Yeah, and one of the ways you can do it is that one of the ways that you basically set up a dialogue flow to work with Chatfuel is that a lot of people put it in the default answer. So like if you have some AI rules in Chatfuel and somebody enters something that doesn't match an AI rule, it just automatically goes to the default answer, right? So what you can do is you can create your Dialogflo agent, and you can basically tell it to, like, when you create an agent, the first thing that you get is you get these two top ones here, the default fallback and a default welcome. So default fallback, basically what happens is that it does all this stuff. If I say something it doesn't understand, it does kind of exactly what Chatfuel originally does, is it sends back one of these responses. So what you can do is that you can turn off your default fallback and turn off your default welcome, and you can still send information to Dialogflo to gather that data and train your bot later while you're working on it. So what you do is that you basically set up Dialogflo to send information or send any kind of the response back. Anything that comes into the default answer, send that to Dialogflo, but then you tell Dialogflo not to answer. So it's silently pulling in data. And so while you're training your bot, you can go in and add the Dialogflo responses later, but it'll let you actually collect all this data into your training section over here. And this training section, this is where, this is basically the history of all the input that I've put in here in the last several days.
Hey, Pat, how much is Dialogflo?
Free. Absolutely free.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely free. And they have some kind of an enterprise level. I think if you're cranking out, if you're something like TechCrunch or something like that, or somebody, processing millions of requests, I think they want you to buy it. But for us, this stuff is free as it gets. So
great. So quick engagement plug, guys. Pat has a very easy way to integrate Dialogflo with Chatfuel. And so we're going to give somebody, maybe a few people, he'll decide at the end of this, someone who has shared it, and then you have to comment that you shared, because for some reason it doesn't always tell me. I can't see who shared it, ironically. It just tells me 13 shares so far. So we're going to pick a few people who have shared it and then commented shared. We are going to pick someone to give it away for free. Otherwise, if you guys just donate to, Pat asked you at least to donate at least $35 to the Exodus Road, and he will give you the client as well.
Yeah.
So this is, what is this, Pat? What is this?
This is basically like for all my yammering and all that. I probably lost a bunch of people. I suck at doing live training. So this is why I did a.
Why I'm here.
What's that? Yeah, there you go. So this is basically the PDF that I wrote. It's got a whole bunch of resources in it for Dialogflo. Lots of tutorials, what you need, what's involved. And it does do a step-by-step. I think it does a much better job of explaining it than I did on, just kind of explaining things on this podcast here, this webinar. So it pretty much walks you through every single step of how to get it going. And then of course, like if somebody needs any help, they can always email me or message me on Facebook too. So, but I've got it done.
Well, 5 steps.
Pretty much 5 simple steps.
Wow. This is great.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
And again, like if you've got, if you're a bot builder and you don't have a website, then, you're not a bot builder. Why don't you have a website? So, you should have at least some shared hosting like GoDaddy or Bluehost or something. So this client will actually run on.
That's all you need, right?
That's all you need. You don't need any high powered server or anything like that. And if you can upload the file, then it's up and running. I mean, that's really as simple as that. You can have it running without editing any settings.
I dig it. So Is there anything else that we're missing, Pat? I mean, we talked about what it looks like in Chatfuel. We talked about training kind of the Dialogflo. Was there any major parts of Dialogflo that people still would need to get going other than entities and intents?
Let's see. So we got basically, and if you look at it, Dialogflo kind of organizes it really well. You've got your agent at the top and kind of what you need to organize. Agent at the top, which is your niche or the particular function of the bot. You've got your intents, and I've got things, home valuation, parse the email, parse the phone, property searches. Entities are basically the objects that you want to get back.
So in here, this is particularly for a real estate one. So those, right. Let's go back to the intents so we can kind of review.
Yeah.
So if it was for real estate, the intents are, they're trying to, like, it looks like that red one, it says like they're probably asking for a home search, right? Or home.
Yeah, like a home valuation. And this is basically the part of the bot where I would ask somebody if you want to get your home value, and we actually do real-time home valuation with Zillow and all kinds of other APIs and stuff. So
here's where the magic happens.
Yeah. So if you want to get your home valuation, I need your address. And we found that a lot of people will enter in, like we did with the email example a second ago or a few minutes ago, they put in their address and then but it needs a little bit of work, and, the fence is down, and, a bunch of other crap that we don't need. And it will actually break the functionality because it's not the data that we want. So this home valuation, what it does is when somebody enters in their address, I actually send it here, we clean it up, and then we send back. And you'll notice that these training phrases do, basically they send back a street, city, state, and zip code. Now, what we do is, like, if somebody only enters in a street address and a state, we clean that up. We send back just the parts that we actually can pull out. And then what I have is the bot will actually only ask for the stuff that's missing. So it really makes the user experience much better. If I enter in the full address, I don't have to ask any more questions. I just show you the value of the house and you're good. If you only enter street address, then I still need, city, state, and zip. And then, so the bot knows what to ask for. And so in this example here with this intent, I'm pulling apart street, city, state, and zip code. And then you'll notice here, I'm actually sending this data back to Chatfuel, and I'm setting these attributes that I clean up. And so those will actually be values inside Chatfuel once Dialogflo picks it apart and figures out what that person wanted. And so that's basically it. If you're going to be just using Chatfuel, you basically set up your intent, you can train it, and then you have to be able to tell it what to send back. I can do, and you can use the Chatfuel JSON API documentation, which basically shows you how to do redirects and stuff like that. Mainly what you're going to use it for is setting attributes and sending it back to Chatfuel.
Wow. This is powerful stuff, guys. And it's always like, there's two options here. I think we talked about it at the beginning, and it's kind of how Pat and I even are having this conversation, is that bots are now where the developer and the marketing world are merging. And so if you're a marketer, for me, I'm like, all right, I get it. I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to give it to my developer and they're going to do it. But I get it, and I can understand the intents, and I can understand that. If you're a developer, then obviously you're going to want to know how to click the buttons, and you're going to want to know how to set all this stuff up. But I think that in this ecosystem, Pat, there's room for both of us. I know you kind of teamed up with Zach, who hopped on earlier and was giving you some love, said you were the best. And he seems to be more of a marketing mind, whereas you have more of a developing mind. And I'm in a similar kind of partnership. So this is just great stuff. So let's wrap up. You mentioned at the beginning that you put together a client, or I don't even know what to call it, a thingamabobber.
Yeah, thingamabobber works.
A thingamadoodle that allows you to easily go from Dialogflo to Chatfuel, and you're asking people to donate to the Exodus Road, and they are a organization that helps victims of sex trafficking, right?
Yep.
All around the world, and they kind of go around, and you mentioned go out and do the dirty work. So I'm gonna throw the link in there. But guys, if you guys end up, if you guys donate to the Exodus Road, what we're gonna ask is that you just, how do you want them to get in contact with you, Pat?
If they want to donate, then they can send an email to info@braintrustinteractive.com. And once they forward the receipt, or they can message me on Facebook, they can, message me direct or send me an email, and I'll send them the code. Cool.
So I'm going to throw all of that stuff into the description. But we mentioned that we were going to give away one free person, one person who is here free access.
Let's give away a few. Let's give away 3 of them.
3 of them. All right.
So guys, why not? If they want to donate afterwards anyway, they can still donate, right?
You guys did that. Okay, so I can see, it shows me who shared. Okay, so guys, if you guys are still here, all right, and you guys shared it, comment shared, and we're gonna give away 3 of them if you guys are shared it and still made it out to the. I'm gonna pick 3. And you guys shared it. Comment look at that. Hold on. And, I sound really nasally. We're gonna give away 3 of them. Voice, guys. So I'm gonna do this. I thought I wasn't.
Oh, I see somebody asking about if it works with ManyChat. Right, not yet.
Pull this up and make sure that I can hear properly. Cool. So we're going to give it away to Anais because she shared it a few times. We're going to give it away to Sarah because I know that she shared it out and she was earlier. And we are going to give it away to Tim because he said that he shared. And Rutger is going to donate, my man. So I appreciate your help. The link there is in the description. It's the exodusroad.com. And what an amazing organization. And Pat, for you to decide to do that instead of selling it is just, I think, a testament to you and how awesome you are as a guy, because a lot of people could have made a quick buck on that, and a lot of people would have made a quick buck. So I want to recognize you for that. So those of you guys, so Tim, Anais, and Sarah, if you guys could connect with Pat, he will give you the access to that, and the rest of you guys send probably the easiest thing to do is just send a message to Pat after you guys donate. Send them a little message so that you guys can get connected with the stuff as well. Anything, Pat, before we get out of here and leave the people to the rest of their days?
No, hopefully I didn't confuse everybody too much. Like I said, Dialogflo it's really not that hard. I probably made it sound a lot harder than I should have, but that's
why developers make so much damn money.
Yeah, hey, you can contract, right? You can call me, I'll do it. Yeah, so no, it really is. It's a lot easier than what I made it out to be. It takes a little bit of messing around. If you screw up, you can always delete the agent out of Dialogflo. And there's tons of tutorials out there. There's a Dialogflo community you can join, and people are bouncing around in there answering all kinds of questions. And the PDF that I've got has lots of tutorial resources as well. So I mean, it really is. It's I made it harder on myself too. So I mean, it took me forever to kind of just learn how to use it. And I just had to dive in and just start messing around with it, and I learned it. So it works. It just works. If you train it, it works.
I dig it.
Yep.
Guys, drop any questions if you guys have any. Connect with Pat. Go check out.
I think some of the questions, a lot of the questions were if it works with ManyChat. It doesn't yet. It will. ManyChat is working on their version of the JSON API that Chatfuel has. I think they call it their developer tools. And once they have that released to everybody, I'll be working on this to make it ManyChat compatible as well.
And I think one other one was about languages.
It'll take any language, whatever language Dialogflo supports. I've got people that are using it in Spanish and Italian and all kinds of stuff. So yeah.
And Colin just gave you a little I don't know what he said. He said congrats. He's already got it purchased and set it up, and it works like a charm. So that's
cool. Great. Glad to see everybody's liking it. So
I love it. All right, guys, have an amazing Monday. We have another actually interview in a little bit with Sal Coyote, who's going to be talking about AI. I don't even know if I said his last name correct, but tune in for that later too.